Beer is one of the most notorious dietary triggers for gout, and its impact on uric acid levels is far more pronounced than that of most other alcoholic beverages. Unlike spirits or wine, beer presents a unique dual risk. It contains alcohol, which directly reduces the kidney's ability to excrete uric acid, and it also contains brewer's yeast and other purine-rich components that are metabolized into uric acid. This combination makes beer not only a contributor to acute gout flares, but also a factor in long-term uric acid elevation, and it is frequently cited as the single biggest alcohol-related dietary risk for gout sufferers. The mechanism behind beer's effect on uric acid is multifaceted. Alcohol is metabolized to acetate, which increases the turnover of ADP and enhances purine nucleotide breakdown, thereby generating additional uric acid. Simultaneously, alcohol impairs renal excretion of uric acid, reducing clearance from the bloodstream. Beer amplifies this problem because it is brewed with yeast, which is inherently high in nucleic acids and purines. This means that drinking beer does more than provide alcohol. It delivers an additional purine load that directly contributes to hyperuricemia. Even relatively small amounts of beer can trigger a measurable increase in serum urate, particularly in individuals who are genetically predisposed or already prone to gout attacks. Epidemiological studies consistently show that beer consumption is strongly correlated with both the onset and severity of gout. People who consume beer regularly have a higher risk of developing gout compared with those who drink wine or spirits in equivalent alcohol amounts. The risk is dose-dependent, meaning that heavier and more frequent beer consumption substantially increases the likelihood of attacks. Importantly, this risk is not mitigated by light or low-alcohol beers. The purine content remains significant, and even modest servings can be sufficient to trigger a flare in sensitive individuals. The metabolic consequences of beer extend beyond gout flares. Repeated consumption can lead to chronically elevated uric acid, contributing to joint damage, formation of tophi, and the risk of uric acid kidney stones. Beer also contains carbohydrates that can contribute to weight gain, insulin resistance, and metabolic syndrome, conditions that further impair uric acid excretion and amplify the likelihood of recurrent attacks. This creates a vicious cycle in which beer not only acts as an immediate trigger, but also exacerbates underlying metabolic conditions that make future gout flares more likely and more severe. Another issue is that beer is often consumed socially, in large volumes, or in combination with purine-rich foods such as red meat, seafood, or pizza. This pairing can sharply increase the cumulative uric acid load, producing flares that are more severe and longer-lasting than when alcohol or purines are consumed alone. In social or cultural contexts, people may underestimate the danger of beer because it is perceived as a socially acceptable beverage, leading to repeated exposures and increased risk over time. From a practical standpoint, beer should be treated as a very high-risk item for anyone with gout or elevated uric acid. During active flares, beer is particularly dangerous and should be completely avoided, as the body is already in an inflammatory state and less able to handle additional uric acid stress. Even outside of flares, frequent or heavy beer consumption is likely to contribute to chronic urate elevation, making long-term management of gout more difficult. Switching to other forms of alcohol, such as wine in moderation, may be slightly safer, but any alcohol intake should be discussed with a healthcare provider, as individual tolerance and overall metabolic health vary widely. It is also important to recognize that beer offers essentially no nutritional benefit that outweighs the risk. While it may provide social enjoyment or culinary pairing value, its contribution to overall health is negligible, and the metabolic consequences for someone prone to gout can be severe. The purines and alcohol in beer act in combination to destabilize uric acid control, making even occasional indulgence potentially harmful. For individuals committed to managing gout effectively, abstaining from beer altogether is often the most protective strategy. If alcohol is consumed at all, careful consideration of type, portion, frequency, and timing is essential. Lower-risk options such as moderate wine consumption may be permissible in some cases, but the benefits must be weighed against the individual's urate levels, history of flares, and other metabolic risk factors. Hydration and dietary balance are helpful, but they cannot fully offset the strong purine and alcohol load delivered by beer. In summary, beer is uniquely problematic for people with gout due to its combination of alcohol, yeast-derived purines, and high carbohydrate content. Its ability to both generate uric acid and inhibit renal clearance makes it one of the most potent dietary triggers for acute and chronic gout. For individuals with a history of gout or elevated uric acid, limiting beer, avoiding it during flares, and carefully evaluating any alcohol intake with a clinician is critical for protecting joint health and maintaining long-term urate control. Social enjoyment or culinary appeal cannot compensate for the substantial metabolic risk beer poses.